half the people that keep posting about one loss don't even centre them. Some of them don't even race. Absolutely nil. All it is the little clique of people, like I said, little cavalry get together and try to hurt people. You know, I mean, we was accused. Now I'm shocked by somebody. I'm not going to mention his name because he runs another one off race, but I was absolutely shocked with some of the comments what come on. One comment was that the British Masters one off race was not running in 2022 because it had an intellectual property dispute in the courts with Who Dares Wins. What a load of crap. Absolute load of rubbish. So to post that, Tony, you were wrong. Why didn't you ring and ask me what the problem were? There was no problem, as I posted out weeks ago, there was no problem with Who Dares Wins and the British Masters one-off race. There was no problem. Who Dares Wins is certainly not responsible for the British Masters not running their race in 2022. Let me get that straight. That's not down to Who Dares Wins. Not at all. Why they're not running their race, I don't know. I suggest you people out there, you ask them why they're not. It's nothing to do with Who Dares Wins. So that let's get that straight. But again, you had people jump on board, you see. Posting shit, what, before they knew anything. Why not ask? Why not ring me up and ask me? Instead of just jumping on board and hoping that something gathers momentum.
So, I was sent that clip last night. I didn't know whether to laugh, cry, or be outraged. Because what has just been said there by Gary Tomlinson is out and out BS. He says that he was shocked, but he wasn't going to name the person because they run another one-off race. But of course, he did end up naming that person. He said, what a load of crap. To post that, Tony, you were wrong. There was no problem with Who Dares Wins and British Masters International. Who Dares Wins is certainly not responsible for British Masters not holding their race in 2022. That's not down to Who Dares Wins. I suggest you people out there ask them why not. Ask me why not, he says. It's nothing to do with Who Dares Wins. That is a load of BS. Why not ask them or him, he says. Well, he can't say, and they can't say. Why can't he say in theory, and they definitely can't say? Because on the 7th of March, an agreement was made in the courts that said nobody could say. And this agreement had a very specific confidentiality clause in it that neither of those parties could say anything about it. But he's also taking me to court, and I'm party to everything that happens or happened between the other parties. And I didn't sign any confidentiality agreement. I never would. So what you've just seen there, if you watched it live or if you've seen it just now, is out and out BS. It's total BS what he's saying. It's out and out lies. And here's why. Business Property Courts Intellectual Property Enterprise Court, stamped by the High Court on the 7th of March, between Who Dares Wins Alfreton Limited, Racing Pigeon International Limited, which is my old company, me, Mark James Lyford, British Masters One Off Race Limited, Lee, Barry Sullivan and Ian Sullivan. This order says that all further proceedings in this claim against the third, fourth and fifth defendant, which is the Sullivan Brothers and British Masters, be stayed except for the purpose of enforcing the terms of the agreement into effect, and for those purposes the parties have permission to apply without the need for fresh proceedings. There will be no order of costs, etc. Confidential schedule to the Tomlin order. The third, fourth and fifth defendants undertake to cease all use of the flyer set out in the claimant's particulars. The same already have been removed from the third party's defendant's website, and not to recommence the use of the same in future. The third, fourth and fifth defendants shall between them pay the claimant the sum of £8,500 within 14 days of the date of this agreement, in full and final settlement of any claims for damages or account of profits against the third, fourth, fifth defendants, etc. The claimant shall not pursue any award of costs against the third, fourth and fifth defendants. And the terms of the schedule and the substance of all negotiations in connection with it are confidentialities to parties, the parties' relevant directors and their advisors, who shall not disclose them to or otherwise communicate them to any third party without the written consent of the other party, save for the release of this mutually agreed statement on both claimants' third defendants' Facebook page in the form of the following. Who Des Wins Alfredton Limited and British Masters One Love Race Limited would like to confirm there's no ongoing disputes between us or any related competitions, and that British Masters International One Love Race Limited decision not to run the race this year was made for entirely unconnected reasons. That was the agreement that was signed. And as part of that agreement, the Sullivan Brothers and, in theory, Gary Tomlinson cannot say anything about the agreement because of that confidentiality clause. But like I say, because he's taking me to court about this flyer, which I'll come to in a few minutes, I'm party to all of the proceedings and the agreements that happen, and I haven't signed any confidentiality agreement, nor would I ever with the man. So when I saw that last night, I thought, you can't be getting away with saying that, what he said, because it's just lies. 95%, a large part of why the British Masters One Love Race this year is not running in 2022 is because of Gary Tomlinson and the actions he's taken. A large percentage. Let's just go back a little bit for those that don't know of the background of this. Around the time of Epsom's show, I was approached by the Sullivan Brothers to help them with a new website for their race and to help with some promotion maybe and marketing, which I went on to do. I designed some new flyers, designed some new logo, and one of the flyers I sent them as an option was very similar to a flyer that I did for Gary Tomlinson's race in 2019-2020. And his flyer, which also turned out to be a big roller banner, had the year 2020 on it. The man has never paid me a single penny for any of the work that I ever did for him. The hundreds of hours I spent in 2019-2020 working to help him with the race. The same race that year that doubled in numbers, entries. And the same race that during the time he was very complimentary about the work that I'd done and the effort that I'd put in. Never been paid a penny by him. Nor has my son ever been given the 7 birds that Tomlinson owes him. But I've never been paid a penny. So when I was doing the work for the British Masters, I had no problem in using similar banner and leaflet to what I'd done. It's worth pointing out that Tomlinson appeared to have some issues with British Masters prior to my public involvement with them. He questioned in a negative way why they were using EPW for their auction of their final birds. He also went on to have some video saying about him helping them with health issues, but he got no thanks for it. This was prior to me being involved publicly. Then he got to find out that I was involved because they asked me to quickly get some leaflets done for them for the Doncaster show. Leaflets that turned out never actually got distributed around the Doncaster show, but that's another issue altogether. I went on to do promotion work, including the website, and it's worth saying that the Sullivan brothers paid me up front to do that work. And apart from all of this hassle, I believe they're very happy with the work that I did. I did make one silly mistake. Considering that I've got entry forms that I'd done for Tomlinson, 2-page entry forms, I accidentally left his name on the bottom of one of the entry forms. That was on the website for about an hour and a quarter until I was made aware of it. It wasn't very visible on the website. You had to go and find it. I hold my hands up, it was a ridiculously silly mistake, me trying to get stuff done quickly, and I left because it was I couldn't see it on the bottom of my screen. I left his name on it. Hold my hands up, that was the mistake I made. Went on to be accused on social media that was no mistake. Trust me, it was. I wouldn't want that man's name anywhere in my work anymore. But he didn't take British Masters and the Sullivans to court for that. He took them to court because he said people were confused by the similar leaflet. The leaflet that had the British Masters name on it. Actually, I've still got one of the leaflets here. This is actually the new leaflet that was done, because this leaflet was changed on the 21st of December. Previously, the other leaflet had a blue background, it had a pigeon on it, and it had trophies. And he was saying that it was confusing people as to what race it was, when it clearly had the British Masters logo on it, and it clearly had the Sullivan's details and British Masters race. But he said people were confused, not knowing if he was part of the British Masters were part of him. And he had some of his mates, as part of the court process, email him saying, "I'm confused, Gary, what's going on?" When all this started, in early December, I said, we were aware of what the issue was about this ridiculous leaflet thing. And bear in mind, this is a leaflet that was similar, but branded completely different. But he'd never paid me a penny for doing that. The roller banners that up until 2 weeks ago, he kept using in the back of his Facebook Live show that he does, that same roller banner had a date on it of 2020. Never paid me a penny. Didn't even actually pay me for the roller banners either, the physical roller banners. So I had no problem in using a similar design with all of their details on it. He and his solicitors said that people were confused, and that's how it started. On the 21st of December, I said, to the Sullivans, I said, let's cut through all of this and get a new leaflet designed, and that was the leaflet that was put on the website. On the 23rd of December, 2 days later, the solicitors started proceedings in the intellectual property courts in London against British Masters, the Sullivans and myself. 2 days after, that leaflet was put online and the old one was took down. As you can imagine, it's a lot of hassle and stress. Cut a long story short, they agreed to the order that I just showed, the agreement, and in the confidentiality agreement, and they paid a sum of money. Now remember, know this, that when you bring solicitors on board, it costs a lot of money, and it's cost the Sullivan brothers over 5 figures, a lot of money in solicitors' fees to get it just to this point, without even going to court. Now, personally, I wouldn't have done the deal and the agreement. But I'm not in their shoes. Now, for anybody that knows Lee Sullivan, you may know that he's a successful businessman. He owns a variety of successful businesses. And some people might say, well, why wouldn't you fight it? Because his solicitors have said, you have a good chance of winning this, but it's going to cost you up to 6 figures, £100,000 in legal fees to win. So you may say, well, why wouldn't you fight it if you're a successful businessman and you think this is completely wrong? Well, unlike the Sullivans, I've got no solicitor. The man's still taking me to court, and the initial hearing is the 15th of June. I've got nothing to hide. I've done nothing wrong, and I've got no solicitor. I'm representing myself. The Sullivans do have a solicitor. So you have to think about it from their point of view. Although I wouldn't have done it, they're in a very different situation. One, they have solicitors' bills coming in at them left, right and centre. And two, a hell of a lot of stress to the family. I know about the stress. I've had stress from various levels of stress about this man for the last 2 years now. So I know what stress can be caused. But more importantly, yes, Lee does own successful businesses. But with that, it brings responsibilities. And Lee doesn't just have a responsibility to himself and his own family. He has a responsibility to many employees that rely on his company running and paying them ultimately their wages. He has a lot of people relying on him. So that's a big pressure. And the other thing is, it's not actually Gary Tomlinson taking us to court himself, it's his company. And when you look into his company, Who Dares Wins Alfreton Limited, it's made a loss for the last 4 years. The company doesn't have any assets. So even if they did win and spend an inordinate amount of money to defend it, they're not likely to get any money back because the company's made a loss for the last 4 years. Now, I know that when I was helped to double his entry fees, he would have made over £100,000 that year. His company hasn't made any money, it's lost money. So from their point of view, they may end up spending 100 plus grand to defend this and not be able to get any of it back even if they did win. So that's why I can see why they've agreed to this. And the confidentiality agreement in there means that when he says, why not ask me on that video earlier, or why not ask them, well, they can't actually speak about it as terms of the agreement. But like I said, I haven't signed any confidentiality agreement, nor would I ever, because it's just a way of gagging me. And as some may know, he's tried his best in the last 2 years to gag me about what my thoughts are and actual facts regarding him and the family, and he's not been successful. So that's the real reason. That's what happened. And I'm sure I'll get hassle for sharing it. But when I saw that clip last night that was sent to me, I cannot accept the man speaking out and out lies like he did. Just not right. All over a leaflet. All over a leaflet he never paid me for. All of this started 2 years ago because he refused to pay me the money I thought I was owed, as per a contract, a written agreement we had, all over £5,000. Sad really, but it's a reality. And seeing that last night, I couldn't accept it. The Sullivans are nothing to do with this. They can't say anything. But like I said, I have access to all of the documents that have happened between all parties, and I'm not part of any confidentiality agreement. And that, based on what I saw, I felt it has to be known what actually happened. I've still got an ongoing case with him. He's still taking me to court for the work that he says he owns, although he never paid me for it. Coming after me for damages. Also threatening me with other legal action, apparently, about other things. But that's the reality. Truth will always prevail. And like I said, if you've got nothing to hide, you've got no fear. I got nothing to hide. Despite not being able to prove it, I know that Gary Tomlinson is the originator and spreader of vile, horrible rumours about me. Can't prove it. But one of his associates was publicly saying horrible things about me, and I took him to the RPRA, which caused a whole bunch more of the problems. I have nothing to hide. I'm an open book. I even wrote a book about my life. I've got nothing, no skeletons in the closet, and therefore I got nothing to fear, because truth will prevail. And I'm sure Gary Tomlinson does not like the idea of people knowing that he actually went and took another one-off race to court for something so ridiculous as a leaflet. But I think he thought the Sullivans are successful in business. They've got a one-off race that is well organised, well funded. And then perhaps when he heard that I was getting involved, although he would flatly deny it, he knows how I helped increase his race, and I think he would be fearful that me working with them, helping them promote stuff for their site and for their business and for their race, I think that probably was a fearful thing. And that's my truth. So that's the record straight. As far as I'm concerned, I'm sure I'll get a lot more hassle for this. And remember, finally, this has been going on now for a long time. And in the space of that time, I've tried 3 separate times to resolve this issue with him. 2 times within 2 months of it first happening. And as recently as last October, emailed him saying, although I completely disagree with some of the things you've said and done, life is too short for this hassle. Would you like to look to resolve the issue? You can see that email if you look for it on Google, the email I sent, trying to resolve this situation before any of this other stuff kicked off. I got no response to that email. So I've tried to resolve it. I can't, seemingly, and now he's taken me to court over leaflets, saying I've damaged him, his race, and what have you, when the man never paid me a penny. But the record's been set straight as to what happened. Thank you for watching. Catch you soon.
Half the people that keep posting about one-offs don't even centre them. Some of them don't even race. Absolutely nil. All it is the little clique of people, like I said, little cavalry get together and try to hurt people, you know. I mean, we was accused, and I'm shocked by somebody. I'm not going to mention his name because he runs another one-off race, but I was absolutely shocked with some of the comments what come on. One comment was that the British Masters one-off race was not running in 2022 because it had an intellectual property dispute in the courts with who dares wins. What a load of crap. Absolute load of rubbish. So to post that, Tony, you were wrong. Why didn't you ring and ask me what the problem were? There was no problem, as I posted out weeks ago, there was no problem with who dares wins and the British Masters one-off race. There was no problem. Who dares wins is certainly not responsible for the British Masters not running their race in 20 22. Let me get that straight. That's not down to Udairs wins. Not at all. Why they're not running their race, I don't know. I suggest you people out there, you ask them why they're not. But it's nothing to do with Udairs wins. So that let's get that straight. But again, you had people jump on board, you see. Posting shit, what, before they knew anything. Why not ask? Why not ring me up and ask me? Instead of just jumping on board and hoping that something gathers momentum.